What is going on, guys? This is Brian from Quantum Motorworks. Bringing you another, I don't want to say too much of a tutorial. We're going to show you how I change the oil on one of these older bikes here. Pretty straightforward, but kind of want to show you this beauty here. It is a model CA72E. So from my research, I believe it's a later model Honda CB250. I've noticed some of the parts on it have been like mix and match. One of the bigger problems we were having was the original carburetor was off of an early model Honda Dream, and we just can't get the parts for it. So for my research, the early model Honda Dreams, which would be 64 and earlier, had more of a round bowl, and then the 64 and later models had a square bowl, which is what we have here. We had to source a new carburetor for this bad boy. And from what I learned, this one actually isn't from a Honda Dream. I think this is from like a CB. Everything's pretty much identical except for the choke lever arm. I had to bend it a little funky in order to make it work on the bike, but that's open. That's closed. It's kind of tight too, I noticed. I didn't see any corrosion in there. Maybe it's just because it's a brand new carb, or that's just how they came back then. Really cool bike. But yeah, put the brand new carburetor, did a fuel petcock conversion, cleaned out the tank really well. Looks like it's already been creamed or has some type of fuel liner in it. So put this new aftermarket fuel petcock here, sealed the gasket well, sealed the bolts well, and then sealed the petcock into the adapter plate here pretty well. No leaks. New fuel line. Put some protective sheath on it to go ahead and give it a little bit of abrasion and heat resistance there. New fuel line. And then on this carburetor, on the original one, the fuel petcock or the fuel inlet was actually like more center towards the front of the carburetor, I think. And this one right here is actually towards the rear. So I had to actually grind down the bolt and a little bit of the frame here, just ever so slightly. I had to notch it in order to fit this carburetor. And that's just kind of the price of rice of making it work. The tuning on this thing feels phenomenal. Just starting it up, it runs like a breeze. I believe so this is I think it's a Kian, could be a Kian. Yeah, it's a Kian PW22, and it has a 115 main jet with a 40 pilot jet, and it's running pretty good. What's going on, Sam? Welcome to the live stream today. So what else did I do on this bad boy? Let's go ahead and show you. I tried to put a new battery on this thing, and I was having problems finding like some type of aftermarket one. So I had to go with I found these new old stock batteries here, and they've been sitting dry for a while. So I just went and had it filled with acid, and now it's pretty dialed in. Got our connections there. Got an aftermarket horn wired up. That goes there. Got was able to find the original air filter and intake boot for it, which is nice because originally, I don't know if you guys can, it's kind of hard to see, but originally the customer didn't have, just opened up, no pod or anything on it. So freaking neighbors' dogs are loud and annoying. So go ahead and tighten that back up. And then I went ahead and put on this this nice exhaust system here. Doesn't really open it up too much more overstock. It's a little bit more free flowing, but not as loud as you would expect it to be. But it came out really nice, pretty nice and straight for the most part. One of the tabs here, this this hanger right there on the exhaust, I kind of had to bend that one in just a little bit to get to fit fit the best. And then I went ahead and used RTV to mount it. I bought OEM muffler gaskets for it, but they're not for these aftermarket exhausts that come from Thailand. Let's see, this is Thai Exhaust Pipe Limited. So yeah, this is an aftermarket exhaust. It's beautiful and it fit up very nice. Fit on pretty freaking nice onto the bike. So we went ahead and replaced the muffler gaskets that were in here. So no exhaust leaks. Sounds pretty good. We got two horns on this bad boy. This is the original horn. It's pretty quiet, can barely hear it over the engine running. And this is an aftermarket horn that the previous owner must have installed onto it, which has this rinky dink. We're going to be replacing that. That's the last thing the customer wants to replace. We put a brand new ignition switch on it. Comes with 2 extra keys. Have to pop out the headlight. Maybe I'll do another live stream when I replace the ignition, the horn button up there. Show you guys the wiring that I did on the headlight. It's pretty nice in there. It was kind of Mickey Mouse originally, and now it's pretty dialed in. We got a Triple X fan. What's going on? And we got Diggy. Thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate it, guys. I also had to do this has like a really interesting throttle. It's not like a traditional where it has a throttle cam in here. The throttle cable comes in. There's actually like a sliding mechanism, and there's a cam inside the throttle tube. It's like a really weird design, but it kept popping out of place right here. So I actually had to weld it in place. So just another little modification that I had to do to the bike to kind of dial it in. On top of, did the intake system, the carburetor, a little custom, exhaust a little custom. Fortunately, I was able to find the original battery, electrical. What else did I do on this thing? Did a points clearance inspection, check the points in here. This is an electronic emission. It's a points distribution system, kind of old school. And basically just checking the clearances and decarbonizing the contact points so it runs, at the best. It actually looks like the contact points were, just didn't have very much wear or were replaced at some point. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this bike has, what is that, 1,400 miles? So this thing's relatively new. It's either 14,000 or 1,400. I'm not sure if that's tenths or miles, tenths of a mile or miles. The only thing that is kind of questionable or concern is the chain sprockets on this bad boy. Kind of worn out. That's kind of hard to tell from this angle, but I don't know if you can see how big of a gap there is between the tooth and the roller. So, new sprocket in the rear is kind of expensive. Chain's pretty standard. Couldn't find a new front sprocket. Don't even really know what it looks like or its condition. It's kind of hard to see from this angle. And what sucks is I'd have to remove the exhaust again, foot peg, possibly this rear brake pedal if I can't slide out all the way. Oil change, which we're about to do here in this video, Kickstarter, then remove this whole cover here, and should get access to the front sprocket there. And I don't know, it looks like this is the starter motor, so I don't know if I have to remove the starter motor. There could be a lot of labor involved to replace this front sprocket. It could be, a 2.5 hour job to upwards of, who knows, 3-4 hours. It is an older bike, so it's not like working on something brand new. These older bikes is, contrary to belief, they're easier to work on. It's an older bike. Not really. The newer bikes, as tight as everything is, the way they're engineered is way more logical than a lot of these older bikes. A lot more technology, computer design. Sometimes you do run into a point where they don't make them service friendly, where you have to, on some newer models, you do have to take apart half the vehicle or half the bike to access certain stuff. But on these older bikes, you kind of run into that same thing. Honda was just figuring it out around this time. This is like one of their first motorcycles to like hit the American market from Japan. And it's pretty cool. It looks kind of like a scooter to me, to be honest. But yeah, so I've done a lot of work to it, and basically what I want to do is go ahead and do an oil change. So let's go ahead, and things should fire up pretty nice. Should already be in neutral. That's my horn. That went up there. So the original horn works. We got high beam and low beam. This horn, the switch is kind of going bad up here. Sometimes it works. Just gotta, yeah, that's why I'm going to replace it for the customer, because it'd be nice to have a really loud horn on this thing, but it should just turn right on. Oh. Or how if I put the choke up a little bit? I almost need like 2 hands to get this thing going. Hold on. So that's running with the choke on right now. Yeah, this thing runs pretty good. This cylinder right here is smoking a little bit. This thing smokes a lot. Like a 2-stroke. Runs really good though. Thing runs pretty tits. See what happens if I turn on the choke. Should kind of cut it out. So this thing doesn't have like a emergency off switch from what I can see. But cool, should be good enough. Let's go ahead and gonna bang out an engine oil change. Let's see if we can get this low enough here. Let's see. Well, you can't see, but probably do this. That big bolt right there, it's a 19 millimeter. We're gonna go ahead and crack that one loose. I almost need like a tripod or something so I could set the phone up right here, but maybe I can do something like that. Engine's nice and warm, nice and smoky. All right. It's a little dirty in here. Bless myself. Damn, getting dirty. Last time you brushed your teeth, girl. Wow, it's pretty freaking dirty. Yeah, scrub, scrub, scrub away. All right, cool. It's probably about as good enough. And I'm empty. Let's see what I got. Oh, would you look at that, son of a bitch? I'm down to my last can of carb clean. Okay. clean enough. Huh. Hopefully the threads are not bucked. Looks like a coarse threaded bolt here. Oh, interesting. Huh. That gasket. It's probably why it's leaking. It's like a felt or a paper gasket. Let's go ahead and put an aluminum one on it, or copper. See what I have that might fit. So while that's draining, engine oil felt relatively warm, not scalding hot, but warm enough to flow. It is a nice, warm, sunny day here in Southern California. I wonder if this is even the original, if this is the correct drain plug right here. Who knows? But oil quantity is about 2 quarts, maybe a little bit more, two and a quarter, 2.5, depending on how much oil is trapped in there. So you want to go ahead and remove. This is the oil fill right here. So allow the crankcase to vent a little bit better. Go ahead and do it. And I usually always check the oil level to see where we're at before we drain it. So there's marks on the dipstick there. There's the lower one essentially and the higher one. You want the oil to be right in between those two. And on my dipstick, I was only getting oil to the bottom. So that tells me that there's enough oil in there, but we're kind of low. And to check it, you basically pull it out, wipe it, and you stick it back all the way in, but do not screw it. You let it, sit in there for about a second or two, pull it back out, and that'll give you an accurate oil level. And you want to do such after maybe running the engine for, 4, 5, 6 minutes, and then let it sit anywhere between 30 seconds to like 2, 3 minutes. And that's going to give you pretty much like a 90 to 100% accuracy range as far as like where your oil's at. Most of the oil within 30 seconds, like 2, 3 minutes, should drain from the top end, cylinder, wherever it's at in the oil pump, back down into the crankcase here, and you should be able to get an accurate oil level reading. So we're going to go ahead and just let that sit. And another thing you can do too, if you want, you could even disconnect your spark plugs here. Do this carefully. Since it's easy on this bike, we'll go ahead and do it. Hopefully nothing blows up here. Kind of turn those away so they don't arc. They don't ground on your cylinder and cause a forest fire. So in theory, bike shouldn't start, but we can go ahead and pump whatever oil's in the pump there. So we'll just turn on the key. Okay. See if that helped push any oil out. Maybe not. Sometimes it helps. Depends. Usually on on a wet sump, actually on a dry sump, I want to say. On a dry sump, it'll help push that oil back into the reservoir. Maybe on a wet sump, maybe it's actually pulling that oil out of the crankcase back through the oil circuits. So I don't know. We'll find out. We're going to go ahead and let it sit here for I don't know, just maybe a couple more minutes, let it drain. And I kind of want to take a look at this drain plug here. So this is the drain plug that came out of it. And it just looks like a big bolt to me. But this is the gasket that came off of it right here. It's like a felt. It's kind of like a felt or a paper gasket. And not in the best condition. Hence why it was probably leaking. So I'm going to see if I can I'm going to clean this off really quick and see if I can find a gasket that'll fit relatively close around that there. Um, Probably doesn't matter. It's probably going to leak just because this washer here, you have to almost take off that washer. I almost kind of want to check the parts diagram and see if it shows this big washer here or if that's something that was done and this is like somebody's custom gasket here. Because that's what it kind of almost looks like too. Could be mistaken. So let's see, how can I do this? Uh, let's see. See what I can do here. Ugh. Almost need like a couple different mounts in order to do this flawlessly. Can't even see what I'm recording here. No. Okay. So I want to go ahead and mess around. I want to mess around with this drain plug here. No, maybe actually. Yeah, I'm curious. That's gonna leak. You have to put like some type of sealing compound, like how there is right here, like some type of RTV. Not completely necessary if we do this right. We may not need that drain plug gasket there. Let me see if I got something else that'll fit this diameter bolt. Nice and clean. Yeah, I don't think we need this big washer and this homemade gasket here. Those look homemade. So let's see. Hmm. 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 Trying to locate my washer kit. I'm still in the process of organizing all of my hardware. Kind of trying to downsize since I no longer have a shop. The amount of hardware and the storage that is taken up is not really called for here at my home. But for whatever reason, I cannot locate. Huh. Interesting. There's one. This one right here might work. This one. I'd really like to find that other shit. So that's a possible candidate right there. Looks like it might have a good seal. Let me see if I can find. I know I had copper ones around here. Hmm. 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 Interesting. Seem to have misplaced it. I wonder. No, I used it recently. Hmm. Okay. So this is one option right here. Let's see if I have these. Polaris. It's a little big. Oof. That might work. Nice tight fit. Nice tight fit around these threads here. Okay. Take a look. But I see though. As much as I would like that to work, I don't think that's going to work. Not on this style of drain plug hole. Does almost need, seems like it's going to need this one right here. Should make a decent seal. It's probably going to be better than that paper gasket. Let's see. Nope. Yeah, it was. So, It's almost like a special washer. I don't know. I'm thinking this one right here might be our best bet. Gasket cinch both sides and freaking slam it on. That way it can be reused the next time. Probably a little bit better than using silicone. We'll see. It's experimental. So a little bit of gasket cinch. It's kind of nice little generous coating there. And on a newer bike, I typically wouldn't do this, but on this older bike, and it looks like where the sealing surface of the drain bolt plug goes, looks a little gouged out, or like somebody's had a, it's been messed with in the last 50, 60 years. So we're gonna go ahead and hope that this right here kind of seals the deal, so to speak. Let's see what I can do here. Hmm. 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 Wonder if that's gonna leak. Might be good. Guess the only way to find out is to put oil in it. Turn it on. We're fifth pump bay. We're 1,500. I mean, I'd probably say it's worth a little bit more than that now. But does somebody want to pay more than $1,500 for it? That's the thing. I mean, if you really want one of these, I mean, it's pretty cool. Just the parts are hard to come by, and if you want it fixed correctly, see what that does. All right, cool. So we need some oil. Ugh. Pretty sure this uses a 10W40. So yeah, 10W40. I'm pretty sure that's what most Hondas want. But does he even tell you right? Oh, here we go. Look. Oil. So if it's above 60 degrees Fahrenheit, it wants SAE 30. And if it's below 60 degrees Fahrenheit, it wants SAE 20. Okay, so is that a straight 30 and straight 20? Or can I get away with a 10W30, or does it want a 5W20? That's like what I put in my girl's Honda Civic. I'm assuming that's a straight oil. Huh. Well, I have the service manual. Let me go see. Let me go read the service manual. See what the service manual wants. 'Cause I have no fucking idea. It's either straight oil or something else, or maybe the winterized. Winterization doesn't matter because they knew it was being sold. No, I have no idea. Maybe they referred to straight 20 and straight 30. I'm gonna go check the service manual really quick. I have no idea. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Can't find it in the Climbers oil pump thickness. Doesn't say anything about the oil viscosity. Okay, so this thing burns standard 120 cc's of oil every 620 miles. Wow. service manual. Interesting. Come on. No? Yeah. Okay. All right, guys, I am back. Took forever. So I went through the climber service manual and I could not find anything on it regarding the oil viscosity. So this says SE 20 and then SE 30. So to me, it almost sounds like they want a straight weight oil. Most Japanese bikes, it'll tell you right off the bat 10W30 or 10W40. So this one, oh, so maybe that's what this is. Maybe when this engine was designed, they didn't have multi-grade viscosity or multi-viscosity oil. At the time, they only had a mono viscosity, so to speak. And so that's why they only gave you the option. Nowadays, you know, we have so many different oil blends. You can use whatever almost. So, I mean, a straight 20 weight or a straight 30 weight is pretty heavy. A straight 40 weight's pretty heavy too. So I'm gonna say like probably a 10W30 is probably gonna be just fine for this bike. I mean, 10W40s probably good too, something a little thick. You wouldn't want to use automotive oil on this. You're definitely going to want to use motorcycle oil, something that's a non-detergent based oil. And let me see what I have here. So do I want to use a 1030 or do I want to use a 1040? So this thing only has 1400 miles, but also when I had the exhaust off, I was looking to sign. It looked like the valve guide seals on the exhaust side were leaking like a pig. So, I mean, I don't know if the 40 weight's going to make that much difference where it'll kind of prevent leaks. Um, this is an air cooled engine versus you know, a liquid cooled engine. So it's kind of hard to say. I mean, it's not going to hurt it putting a 10W40 in. So let me see what I got here. I got 10W40 Kawasaki grade oil. This is pretty good stuff. We'll just go ahead and throw some of that in there. So it takes about 2 liters. So I'm going to say probably most of this. I'm going to put 1 liter in. And then double check to see if we got any leaks coming out of that plug. Huh. It's pretty dry. Wow. Very nice. I'm gonna fix that. The gasket cinch usually does the trick. Stick that in there really quick. So just almost registering at the bottom of the dipstick there. Just need a little bit more, it looks like. That almost doesn't sound right. Said about 2 in the service manual, called for about 2 liters or a little bit more. No, it could use a little bit more. It's just right above the window now. You kind of want to be generous. So in the service manual, or at least the climbers, it has a actually an oil consumption specification where basically every 620 miles, standard oil consumption is around 120 cc's of oil. So, after a couple thousand miles, no oil change, not only is the oil getting gritty and dirty, full of carbon, but this engine naturally just burns oil due to the clearances. And it also had a specification for limit would basically be more than 200 cc's of oil consumption per 620 miles would be excessive, and it would warrant, top end teardown, which we already know. We can see the exhaust valve guide seals on the cylinder head top end here are leaking like a pig when I was doing the exhaust change. So that's just kind of how it is. It's an older bike. It's 60 years old. The seals are probably no bueno. There we go. We can put just a little bit more, actually. It's like just around the halfway mark on the stick. Let's see. There we go. Yeah. No, and because this thing's old and burns oil, I'm gonna give it one more just for good luck. Yeah, it's a good luck shot right there. Before I send this bad boy on the road. Okay, cool. Final check. Yep. It's a little bit above, like right at the full mark. It's a little bit above it. It's gonna end up burning most of that oil anyways. Okay. Very nice. Okay. All right. Oil's good. One last check down below. Cool. I don't see any leaks. Once it warms up, it's good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's good. All right, that's it. All right, cool. I got another bike I got to pull in here and get working on, so I'm gonna call it quits. That's pretty much it. So if you guys have one of these Honda Dreams here, that is how you do an oil change. And it looks like I only put about 1.5 liters of oil in it, which is kind of, it doesn't really have a oil specification here. It just tells you, the grade that you should put in it. But yeah, I put about a little over like 1.5 liters, 1.6. And the service manual has said 2 or a little over 2. So I don't know if that's referring maybe this they're ever so slightly. There's like different variations. Like this is the CA72. There's the C72, the CB72. Maybe they have different crankcases with different oil capacities, more than likely. But yep, that's pretty much it. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. It took an hour to go over this bike, do an oil change, and kind of figure out what we're doing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, looks like I might have the fuel valve off. Maybe that's why I was kind of running like crap. But all right, guys, thanks for watching.